I'm Andrew. This past week I've made it my goal to lose weight, get my health back, and crush my enemies, so let's get right into it. In mid-November I met with some dietitians to start my weight loss journey. They did give me the usual goals of eat less, move more, but this time the tips and tricks were a lot more involved. My goal was to change my sedentary lifestyle into an active one, eating a measured amount less calories per day, from a life of processed fast food, up my veggie and fruit game, and protein out like a gym bro. So in the weeks leading up to Thanksgiving, I began and I started pivoting with these small changes. 1. Start each day with a breakfast at home. 2. Eat something every 4 hours. 3. Eat lunch with a replaced meal from a food delivery service with measured calories and nutrition instead of fast food each day. 4. Start exercising at least 10 minutes a day, which is 10 minutes more than my usual 0. 5. Drink water. When I'm done, drink more water. When I'm done with that, drink more water after that. And finally, F. Use some resistance bands and exercise bikes. And most importantly, don't injure myself while doing so. Monday, I immediately got into the active lifestyle by sitting down for an entire hour and editing the last vlog. Yeah, I was a little behind on that. I filmed it weeks ago and the camera footage was still on the cameras. The great news is there was immediately an update to DaVinci Resolve, and thankfully NVIDIA didn't ask me to update my driver too. I did get some good resistance band time in though, while the last vlog was rendering out, so time wasn't completely wasted. Other than that, the only notable thing that happened that day was late in the afternoon I got my first delivery of Mini from Factor 75, which as of this vlog is not sponsoring me. I'm paying to try these out myself and I'm not getting any discounts. Also, fun fact, the Factor 75 boxes make excellent cat forts. It was freezing cold this day, and despite that, I ended up the day with 1,400 calories in my body and 11 whole minutes of exercise. Of course, now the cat took the time to take a poop. Can you hear that? Tuesday rolled around and I woke up deciding to have a burrito. I think I'll have a burrito. And I also made a delicious pumpkin spice latte since I am basic. Now before you judge about my pumpkin spice latte, please know that I did substitute out the milk for oat milk and reduced the syrup amounts. Since I quit drinking soda, this is the last bastion of not as healthy drinks, and I will die on this hill. Also, don't be jealous of my pricey espresso machine as you drink your peasant drip coffee. The only downside of the espresso machine is that parts of the process are very loud. I sat down in my home office and began work, trying to ignore the fact that this entire room was freezing cold from the fresh snow outside. It's time for lunch. Lunch rolled in that day and I was able to do my first of many Factor 75 meals using my completely scientific method of grab what's on top, or GWAT for short. I chose chicken Alfredo pasta. In hindsight, out of everything I got in my Factor 75 order, this by far was the most calorie dense, and in retrospective, I probably would have skipped this exact meal. Clocking in at 670 calories and 39 grams of protein, I was in for a meal fit for a bodybuilder. But don't get me wrong, it still tasted amazing. Oh, and it very specifically says to transfer contents to plate and enjoy. It's important you don't eat it in the plastic. You have to put it on a plate, that way it's more official. Following the instructions exactly, I cooked it and transferred it directly to a plate. To be fair, any meal does look a lot more appetizing than eating it directly out of a plastic prison tray. It was at this moment that I sat down to eat and I started filming for the week. Wish me luck, I'm going in. When I was done, I went to make a review and I found out that my camera battery had died, and all I filmed was me saying I was about to eat it. Hashtag sad face. Also, like a complete noob, I forgot that my iPhone had an infinitely better camera in it that I could have used in the moment, which was a lot better than the current nothing that I had filming at the time. The day finished out with a past crockpot meal I still had in the fridge, a protein shake, more resistance bands, and some new muscles. I hit all the goals of my watch that day, and honestly, I want to say that I live each day with my one goal, making my Apple Watch proud of me. Wednesday, I started the day with the big brain idea of no longer using my gigantic Canon 80D as a walking around vlog camera since it's heavy. It's very heavy. I'm not going to use that for a bit if I'm just walking around. Instead, I switched to my GoPro. Immediately, it took me back to my early days of vlogging on this channel, and it renewed my happiness. I forgot how fun it was to have a small, portable, agile camera again. So I celebrated with a pumpkin spice latte. Lunch rolled in, and I used my previous GWAT method, and it gave me the spicy southwestern turkey and mac. It also has this corn and poblano, and it clocked in at 520 calories and 32 grams of protein. Being an Ohioan, and the fact that it was cold AF outside, it struck me how casserole-like consistency this dish was, and it was just like getting a good Midwestern hug from your mom. But the instructions specifically say to serve it on a plate, because we are sophisticated. Instructions followed, and I transferred it to a plate, opting not to mix the veggies and mac. It was a solid 3 out of 4 stars, and I would totally get this again in the future. I was interrupted by lunch by the monthly testing of the Ohio tornado siren system. If you live in Ohio, you know what I know. Monthly tornado siren testing. First Wednesday of every month. Don't tell the outsiders. I spent the rest of the day working as usual, ate an apple, and then at dinner time, more homemade meatballs, rice, and veggies. This recipe is actually from this guy on YouTube I follow, and link is in the description below. I ended the day with 1,600 calories and 7 minutes of resistance band training. Thursday was a doozy. It was who knows outside, with a feels like of, well, this. It's Thursday. It's, I don't know, outside, but the feels like temperature is 0. Also, try to cut back on my sodium. I made an egg and cheese sandwich with some really nutty bread. I spoiled myself, and instead of my usual breakfast burrito, I opted to make an egg, whole wheat nutty toast, and cheese sandwich. It was an amazing decision, and despite the added pan I had to clean, I sat there and dreamt about this sandwich for the rest of my week. I conveyed to my friend Braxwolf online, and even he agreed that the best breakfast sandwich option is an egg sandwich. See? 2 charismatic titans of industry can't be wrong. This also had the added benefit of cutting back a little on the sodium intake, which is a win-win. I spent the morning doing way too many work calls and somehow survived. Sadly, the previous few days of snow and cold were gone, so take that, Canada. At lunch, I threw out the previous day's GWAT method. Instead, I fished around inside the fridge and I got picky with my choice for the first time. It was grilled chicken with brown butter Yukon mash. 500 calories and somehow 41 grams of protein. This was amazing. Now, most people are into meat and potatoes, which this had in abundance, but I'll let you in on a secret. If you feed me a pile of well-made green beans, I'll come over and do chores at your house. These were like crack with all the seasoning and mushrooms. This meal was so good I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which completely wrecks my previous 1 out of 4 star method. Wasn't bad. I think I'll give that like 3.5 stars out of 5. Maybe 4. I'd eat it again for sure. Dinner, not shown, was a pared down Chipotle burrito that looked like the guy had made it and then performed a wrestling move on it. It created quite a mess trying to eat it, and in hindsight, I really should have filmed it because it should have looked entertaining to see that disaster unfold. Sadly, due to the Chipotle burrito, I did end the day at about 2,000 calories, which is still lower than I used to eat, but not perfect. You can't save them all, Hasselhoff. For anyone who works in IT or any office job, you all know Fridays are what we live for. I started the day with just a determined scowl, but eventually I quickly wiped it away as I heard the sound of the espresso machine starting up. I even made you this short tutorial on how to become a home barista and make latte art.
Hi. I'm all for losing weight, but this is going to be hard to get rid of.
If you want to be a home barista, follow along. This is how you do art. You don't. Nobody's got time for that. Finishing out my pumpkin spice latte, I discussed how it was once again freezing cold outside and how my watch was concerned that I was going to have hearing loss from the espresso machine. So once again, it's 0 degrees outside, or the feels like is. Positive spin, kids are at school. I have a breakfast burrito and a pumpkin spice latte. Doesn't like when I make my pumpkin spice lattes. It's very loud. Putting in a solid morning of crunched IT work, I broke for lunch and decided instead of my usual Factor 75 meal, today I would treat myself to taking every single Factor meal out of the fridge and then deciding to eat the very last one on the bottom, which ended up being a 4-cheese tortellini Italian sausage pizzoli, however you say that. At 430 calories and 22 grams of protein, it wasn't the best at protein, but it was super low in calories, so lunch it was. Also, spoiler, it had some garlicky green beans in it, which took this great meal and made it excellent. It was a great choice for lunch, and I'm definitely going to order this one again.
That was a great choice for lunch. I'm going to order that one again.
I worked past my usual end-of-day time to finish a project that needed crushing, and I drank a protein shake in victory. Being Friday night, I celebrated appropriately. That's right, being the first week in December, I locked myself in my bedroom and I wrapped presents for 2 hours. Friday night, you know what that means. Take everything out of these boxes and put them into that paper. The cat helped. Hey, you know whose help I don't need while doing this? Yours. The wife spent the evening shopping for Christmas stuff, and I had some quiet reflection time for the week. Perfect time to feel great about wrapping presents, watching The Orange is the New Black, and do some vlog thoughts. The day ended with 1,600 calories and 75% of my Christmas presents wrapped. Well, I got all the presents wrapped, and now I'm just kind of laying here in bed. Just watching some Netflix, or in my case, Netplex. The cat finally left me alone with all of the wrapping paper, so yeah. It's late, my brain isn't working. Guess we'll see you tomorrow. Saturday started a little bit later as I opted to sleep in till 11 a.m. Fortunately, like always, despite sleeping in till 11 a.m., I'm still the only one awake in my house, allowing me to have morning chaos thoughts as I make breakfast and weigh myself.
I had this weird dream last night where I was a background character in Game of Thrones. And apparently all my character did was I pointed at a map and said some word. Like they were trying to figure out where they were going, and I was like, bah. I kept bragging to all my friends, like, yeah, it's Game of Thrones. Check out the specific episode at this very specific time. Weird dream.
Anyways, I was not in Game of Thrones, so don't go looking for me. Fun fact, I actually do have an IMDb page, but you will not find Game of Thrones on that IMDb page. It's Saturday, so you know what that means. I finished making my pumpkin spice latte, a companion burrito, and sat there sad at my fleeting fame of not being a Game of Thrones. While eating breakfast, my iPhone tried cheering me up by telling me all my move goals were now higher for the week. Well, duh, that's kind of the point of all this effort. This is what you like to see. Not the half-eaten burrito, although that is pretty good. There's been a change in your average calories burned per day. It's working. Keep it up. Stupid iPhone. By lunchtime, I finally got the wife out of bed, and together we went out for a brisk 5K run to stretch our legs and get some well-needed cardio for the week. Just kidding, she forced me to drive her down the road so we could both use our phones to raid some gym in Pokemon Go so I could have some ridiculous teacup. So take that, dietitian, I did get some gym time in. Somehow when I was going to film this, I accidentally set my GoPro to time-lapse mode. So enjoy this hilarious sped up footage of me battling this stupid gym. Being the newly formed Pokemon gym rat I was, I put on my prescription Ray-Bans and I drove off into the sun like a boss. We finally got around to that 5K run. Just kidding, she made me drive to yet another Pokemon gym so that she could try to get a shiny teacup this time. This time around, I used the Pro Strat zero effort method of just let the wife play both phones at the same time. I'm sure this somehow violates the Pokemon Go terms of service, but hey, who's watching except for you? I now walked away confidently knowing that I could proudly tell my dietitian I hit 2 gyms in one day. I celebrated my new gym lifestyle by washing off my electric minivan since she was a dirty girl. Returning home, it was now time to kick back and relax for the weekend. Just kidding. Once again, we did chores, and this time the cat was along for the ride. This is Oreo, by the way. I think I'm gonna try to continue cleaning the dresser off, or at least my stuff. I did eat a Factor 75 Pimento Verde pork chop off camera, which was okay. I pontificated about it while the cat flexed above me and the dogs in Fort Factor behind me. I did some resistance band training and even got in a protein shake this time with new powder from Kroger's. It ended up being not too bad. I also took the time to react on camera about how the dietitian suggested that I add protein powder to all sorts of stuff. I'm still drinking the protein. I hope I'm not too loud because I'm listening to some Icona pop. Anyways, dietitian said to try to put some protein powder in with my coffee. I don't think she understands how a pumpkin spice latte works. That's just a crime. Sorry, I'm not doing that. We went and did movie night at the in-laws, which was amazing, but I didn't film anything there because they're DEFCON level 2 secretive and live in a dark bunker sworn to secrecy. We watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and it was just as funny as the last time I watched it, which was last year. Returning home late that night, the wife went off to do some chores herself, allowing me to get in some critical Farming Simulator 25 time on the PlayStation 5, while blasting Matt and Kim on my Apple AirPods. The day ended with 1,600 calories and a solid 8 minutes of resistance band training. On the 7th day, God rested, and we rested too. Just kidding, I got up hours before everyone else, made a pumpkin spice latte, a burrito, and played Farming Simulator 25 since I had the house to myself till noon. Everyone else in the house would have slept well past noon if I hadn't been a complete jerk and made everyone eggs and biscuits, despite not having any of them myself. Take that, restraint. I celebrated the goal of making everybody breakfast by finally kicking back and enjoying my weekend. Just kidding, the wife wanted to clean out the bedroom closet that day. To be fair, it was years past the point where we should have cleaned it. I took the opportunity to wrap some Christmas gifts too. I'd show you the footage, but once again my GoPro battery died and I think I lost about a half an hour of talking. No big deal. I did pack up some very old t-shirts that didn't fit that I had forgotten I had even had. I packed them into a someday bin when I lose like 3 shirt sizes. This might come as a shocker to nobody at all, but for lunch, I had Factor 75 again. This time it was the Parmesan sun-dried tomato and chicken pen. Also, yes, it did have green beans, and yes, I loved this meal. Sitting at 560 calories and 37 grams of protein, it hit the spot. I did a lot more chores that day, as one does, and I did some Panda Express dinner out of black pepper, sirloin steak, and rice at 590 calories. I had a late evening protein shake, and I finally sat down to get a week's worth of footage off all my cameras. It was then that I finally hit that wall I was dreading. No, thankfully I'm not talking about a weight loss wall or any sort of injury. No, it was much worse than that. My NVIDIA driver finally had an update, and to add to the NVIDIA mirth, they decided to pack in an entire brand new NVIDIA app to the updater. I took the high road, I installed it, and then immediately threw away the app it installed, as anyone should. Not today, Satan. This ended my week, and I had way too much footage across 3 separate cameras, dead batteries everywhere, and I ended it with about 1,600 calories ate. So did I meet my goals? Well, here's the summary that will impress every no one. Yes. While throughout the week I did periodically check my weight to make sure I was on task, I will officially visit the dietitian tomorrow morning on Monday, so check out next week's vlog to see the results. Spoiler, I got high-fived by a professional dietitian. Every day I was well below my calorie intake. I got in several exercise sessions. I hit 2 gyms in one day. I ate lunch at home every day by not sponsored Factor 75. I also drank so much water that I could have filmed a swimming pool. And above all, I hit my one true goal. I made my Apple Watch proud of me, which is the best prize of all.
Madness.